Good evening, and thank you for joining me. I am Aaron. Before we begin, I want you to let go of everything from today. Just breathe and listen. I have prepared a story for you tonight, set in a world of beauty and stillness, where life unfolds one slow, beautiful moment at a time. Welcome back, dear listener. Tonight, a story awaits you, a journey into the realm of dreams. You've been waiting for this, haven't you? Let's begin, shall we? First, settle into your bed, your sanctuary, your nest of warmth and softness. Feel the coolness of the sheets against your skin, the gentle embrace of your pillow beneath your head. Find that perfect position, the one that whispers to you, "Stay, rest, you are home." Now let's take a deep breath together. Inhale slowly, deeply, filling your lungs with the quiet of the night. Hold it just for a moment, feeling the heaviness in your chest. Then exhale slowly, releasing any tension, any worries, any thoughts that don't belong here. Again, deep in, hold, slow out. Feel the rhythm, the dance of breath. It's just you and the night now. Focus on the weight of your body, the softness of the mattress beneath you. Feel the warmth seeping into your muscles, relaxing them, making them heavy, so very heavy. Listen. Can you hear it? The sounds of the night are all around you. The soft patter of rain against the window, the distant hoot of an owl, the gentle hum of the wind as it dances with the leaves. Let these sounds wash over you, like a lullaby, like a blanket of tranquility. You are safe here, dear listener. You are at peace. Now, let the story begin. You are nestled in the cozy dugout workshop, the scent of wood smoke and warm fur wrapping around you like a familiar embrace. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, its glow casting dancing shadows on the walls. The sound of the wind howling outside is muffled by the thick hide covering the entrance, leaving you safe and sheltered within. You feel the warmth of the fire on your face, see the embers glow like tiny, twinkling stars, and hear the gentle crackle and pop of the burning logs. The master bone carver is at his workbench, his back to you, his tunic stained with oil and the faint smell of sweat lingering in the air. You watch as his hands, rough and calloused from years of work, move with steady rhythm, smoothing a piece of reindeer antler with a small, sharp knife. The sound of the knife scraping against the antler is a soft, steady rhythm, like a lullaby, and you feel your eyelids growing heavier. You can see the intricate details of the runes he is carving, the lines deep and precise, the curves flowing like a river. The antler is pale and smooth, the grain of the bone visible in the firelight. The master carver hums softly as he works, the sound low and melodic, blending with the crackle of the fire and the scrape of the knife. You are sitting on a thick fur, the soft hairs tickling your skin, the warmth of the fire seeping into your bones. You can smell the faint, earthy scent of the fur, the musky odor of the animals it came from, and the sweet, woody smell of the burning logs. You feel the weight of the day's work in your own hands, the ache in your fingers from the repetitive motions of carving, but it is a familiar ache, a sign of a job well done. The master carver sets down the antler and picks up a small, delicate piece of walrus tusk. He begins to score it with a fine, sharp tool, the sound a soft, high-pitched scratch. You can see the tiny lines he is making, the precision of his movements, the way his eyes are focused on the task at hand. He picks up a small vial of Orpiment pigment, the bright yellow color glowing in the firelight, and begins to grind it with a small pestle and mortar. The scent of the pigment is sharp and acrid, the sound of the grinding a soft, steady crunch. You feel your eyes growing heavy. The warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the master carvers work lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. You can hear the soft sound of the wind outside, the rustle of the leaves, the distant call of a bird, but it is all muffled and far away like a dream. You are safe and warm and sheltered in the dugout workshop, the world outside forgotten, the only reality the steady, comforting rhythm of the master carver's work. You can see the tiny pieces of amber he is inlaying into the walrus tusk, the warm, golden color glowing in the firelight. The scent of the amber is sweet and resinous. The sound of the tiny pieces being placed into the scored lines a soft, delicate click. The master carver's hands move with steady precision. The lines of the runes he is carving deep, and even the curves flowing like a river. You can feel the weight of the day's work in your own hands, the ache in your fingers from the repetitive motions of carving, but it is a familiar ache, a sign of a job well done. You feel your breath slowing, your body relaxing. The warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the master carver's work lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. You can hear the soft sound of the wind outside, the rustle of the leaves, the distant call of a bird, but it is all muffled and far away like a dream. You are safe and warm and sheltered in the dugout workshop, the world outside forgotten, the only reality the steady, comforting rhythm of the master carver's work. The master carver sets down the walrus tusk and picks up a small, delicate piece of reindeer antler. He begins to smooth it with a small, sharp knife, the sound a soft, steady scrape. You can see the intricate details of the runes he is carving, the lines deep and precise, the curves flowing like a river. The antler is pale and smooth, the grain of the bone visible in the firelight. The master carver hums softly as he works, the sound low and melodic, blending with the crackle of the fire and the scrape of the knife. You feel your eyes growing heavy, the warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the master carver's work lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. You can hear the soft sound of the wind outside, the rustle of the leaves, the distant call of a bird, but it is all muffled and far away like a dream. You are safe and warm and sheltered in the dugout workshop, the world outside forgotten, the only reality the steady, comforting rhythm of the master carver's work. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, the flames curling around the logs, the embers glowing beneath. You can feel the heat reaching your face in slow, gentle waves, the warmth seeping into your bones. You can smell the faint, sweet scent of the burning wood, the musky odor of the fur you are sitting on, the sharp, acrid scent of the orpiment pigment. You can hear the soft, steady rhythm of the master carver's work, the scrape of the knife against the antler, the hum of his voice, the crackle of the fire. You feel your breath slowing, your body relaxing, the warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the master carver's work lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. You can hear the soft sound of the wind outside, the rustle of the leaves, the distant call of a bird, but it is all muffled and far away like a dream. You are safe and warm and sheltered in the dugout workshop, the world outside forgotten, the only reality the steady, comforting rhythm of the master carver's work. You can see the tiny pieces of amber he is inlaying into the reindeer antler, the warm, golden color glowing in the firelight. The scent of the amber is sweet and resinous. The sound of the tiny pieces being placed into the scored lines a soft, delicate click. The master carver's hands move with steady precision, the lines of the runes he is carving deep, and even the curves flowing like a river. You can feel the weight of the day's work in your own hands, the ache in your fingers from the repetitive motions of carving, but it is a familiar ache, a sign of a job well done. You feel your eyes growing heavy, the warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the master carver's work lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. You can hear the soft sound of the wind outside, the rustle of the leaves, the distant call of a bird, but it is all muffled and far away like a dream. You are safe and warm and sheltered in the dugout workshop, the world outside forgotten, the only reality the steady, comforting rhythm of the master carver's work. The master carver sets down the reindeer antler and picks up a small, delicate piece of walrus tusk. He begins to score it with a fine, sharp tool, the sound a soft, high-pitched scratch. You can see the tiny lines he is making, the precision of his movements, the way his eyes are focused on the task at hand. He picks up a small vial of Orpiment pigment, the bright yellow color glowing in the firelight, and begins to grind it with a small pestle and mortar. The scent of the pigment is sharp and acrid, the sound of the grinding a soft, steady crunch. You feel your breath slowing, your body relaxing. The warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the master carvers work lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. You can hear the soft sound of the wind outside, the rustle of the leaves, the distant call of a bird, but it is all muffled and far away like a dream. You are safe and warm and sheltered in the dugout workshop, the world outside forgotten, the only reality the steady, comforting rhythm of the master carver's work. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, the flames curling around the logs, the embers glowing beneath. You can feel the heat reaching your face in slow, gentle waves, the warmth seeping into your bones. You can smell the faint, sweet scent of the burning wood, the musky odor of the fur you are sitting on, the sharp, acrid scent of the Orpiment pigment. You can hear the soft, steady rhythm of the master carver's work, the scrape of the knife against the antler, the hum of his voice, the crackle of the fire. You feel your eyes growing heavy. The warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the master carvers work lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. You can hear the soft you settle deeper into the dugout's low bench, where the earth holds steady and cool beneath your back, and the wind outside worries at the seams of the sod wall with a soft, faraway hiss. Smoke from the tallow lamp threads the air in a slow, familiar ribbon, warm against your eyes, and the smell of damp wood and reindeer antler dust mixes with it until everything feels tucked in, protected, and meant for you. You can hear the workshop's quiet music, the faint creak of a timber beam shifting in the cold, the small crackle of fat in the lamp, and beneath it all the patient, even whisper of your master's tools. You watch his hands move in the shielded half-light, steady as if they are tied to the same rhythm as the drifting snow, and you notice how his oil-stained tunic clings and loosens with each breath. The surface of the antler catches the lamplight in pale, honeyed bands, while the darker marrow hollows look like tiny doorways you could step into if you dared. Around them, your master's bone awl has already made careful lines for runic signs and small sacred forms. His thumb presses, then lifts, then presses again, and you feel through the way you look at him. How the touch must be both gentle and firm, how the carved edge must be smoothed until it feels like cool riverstone under the palm. You notice the taste of cold air in your mouth, metallic and clean, as if the wind itself rinses you, and you breathe it in, then out, safe and unhurried, letting your thoughts soften with the smoke. You shift your gaze to the workshop floor, where curled shavings and pale flakes gather like snowdrifts in miniature, and your master keeps them swept with a small bone comb so the work stays calm and clear underfoot. The smell of dry antler rises whenever he leans close, sweet and faintly animal, and you can almost feel its roughness through the air before you ever touch it. Each smoothing passes over the antler in a slow arc, and the sound is almost nothing, just a faint rasp like dry grass stirred by a careful hand, while the scoring tool clicks once, then again, then rests. You notice how he turns the piece in his left palm to keep the motion constant, wrist rotating while his shoulders remain relaxed, and your own body responds by settling into stillness, as if you are learning by imitation without strain. You listen to the rhythm that is always the same. Smooth, score, smooth again, in long, unbroken cycles that fill the hours without filling you with weariness. Your master's reindeer antler work is not hurried. It is tender, and you can see the way his fingertips avoid the delicate runes, hovering like protective birds over the finished grooves. When he lifts the piece, the amber inlay glints briefly warm golden flecks held ready against the grooves, and you see how the lamplight makes it look like captured fire. You smell the sticky trace of whatever binding he uses, a dark scent that settles on the air like damp pitch, and you hear the soft tap of the antler piece meeting the wooden rest. You feel the dugout's shelter wrap around you like a blanket, the warmth from the lamp and the hearth traveling slowly across the benches until even your toes feel cradled. You notice the moment he chooses for smoothing the antler tine, he takes a narrow sliver of abrasive stone and moves it along the curve with a pressure, so even it seems measured by breath. The tool strokes are long and slow, and the sound is a whispering scrape, steady as rain on a roof of bark or thatch. You imagine rain in the distance even if none falls, because the rhythm makes your mind supply it. The antler's surface begins to shift under the motion from matte to satin, and you can see tiny highlights moving like light on water as he rotates the piece. The smell changes, too. First the dry, airy sweetness of antler, then a sharper note like warmed dust, and then briefly a clean scent that reminds you of snow melting near the hearth. You keep your hands folded near your lap, safe and quiet, held in comfort, as if stillness is another kind of apprenticeship. You watch him begin the scoring for runes and little religious signs, tracing shallow channels so the inlay can seat without breaking the delicate ridge lines. His point moves with a firm, practiced certainty. It does not dig deep, it simply insists, and the antler responds with fine, controlled shavings that curl and collect at the edge of his work cloth. You hear those shavings whisper when they fall, a tiny, soft sound swallowed quickly by the thick air of the dugout. You smell oil on his tunic-hold rendered fat, rubbed into fibers over many winter days, and you notice how his knuckles look slightly reddened, though his posture stays calm and upright. You feel a calmness settle over you, too, because the work is honest and gentle, because nothing is being forced, because every motion is measured and protected. You drift toward the part of the cycle where amber waits, and you see the small amber pieces set like pale embers in their grooves, each one snug and deliberate, held by the binding he mixes and keeps ready on a flat stone. The amber glows in dim light as if it remembers summer, and the runes around it look more alive with each smoothing pass that removes the outer roughness. You hear a quiet, careful pressing sound, finger to amber, then tool to edge like a fingertip on thick wool, and you feel that same carefulness in your own chest as you breathe. Smoke from the lamp rolls upward in soft swirls, and in those swirls you catch the faint scent of resin and old wood. The air tastes faintly of salt, maybe from preserved fish nearby, though you do not eat, only let the world settle into you. You are safe here, wrapped in the warm shelter of the workshop, held steady by the familiar scent of work. You also remember what your master teaches you when the pigment pot comes out, how he speaks quietly, not to frighten you, but to keep you steady. He shows you the bright, earthy powder and keeps it away from the open, grinding stone, and you watch his hands choose caution as carefully as they choose tools. You do not grind it. You do not breathe it. You do not let it mingle with dust that could fly into your face because he wants you protected, cradled in safe practice. The air might carry a sharpness that makes your throat feel dry in advance, and you see him cover the work area, keep the cloth damp, and wipe immediately with slow, sure strokes. You feel relief in your bones that there is care here, that beauty comes with guidance, that the hazards are respected like winter fire, useful only when handled properly. Now you follow the 12-hour steadiness that is bigger than any single moment, and the workshop seems to breathe with it. You watch your master shift from smoothing antler to refining the borders around a small amulet, then back again, as if he is smoothing the whole world one curve at a time. His aching hands are not dramatized. They are simply present, and you can see the slight stiffness in the way he pauses between long strokes, stretching fingers just enough to keep the motion gentle. The lamplight warms the oil on his tunic until it gleams dark and soft at the seams, and you see the fine dust on his forearms catch in the light like pale sand. You hear the hearth's low breathing embers ticking, then quieting while outside the wind makes its distant, steady hush, never rising into threat, only continuing like a lullaby with a harsher voice. You blink slowly, and each blink feels like another smoothing pass across your own thoughts, removing rough edges, leaving only calm. You watch his tools lay down their gentle marks. The scoring line, the amber seat, the final smoothing that makes the surface feel as smooth as an ice-polished shell. The smell of smoke and warmed fat grows, softer as the night deepens, and the air becomes even more sheltered, as if the dugout is drawing closer to you. The sounds become muffled and slow. The last scrape of a tool, the faint tap of a piece set down, the quiet crackle of the fire, and your master's breathing, steady and unhurried. You are nestled in the quiet corner of the windshielded workshop, the scent of smoked fish and pine resin lingering in the air. The fire crackles softly, casting a warm, golden glow that dances on the walls of the dugout. You feel the heat, gentle and steady, as it wraps around you, lulling you into a state of calm. The sounds of the carving tools have slowed, the rhythmic scraping of the knife against the reindeer antler now a distant hum, a lullaby of sorts. The carver, your mentor, sits across from you, his oil-stained tunic reflecting the firelight. His hands, rough and calloused, move with a grace that belies their aching tenderness. He works on a small piece of walrus tusk, the scoring of the runes a soft, steady sound that blends with the crackling of the fire. The amber piece he preps for inlay glows in the firelight, a warm, golden hue that seems to pulse with a life of its own. You feel the weight of the day in your bones, the repetitive motions of smoothing and scoring the bone pieces echoing in your muscles. The scent of the amber, sweet and resinous, fills your nostrils, a comforting aroma that grounds you in the moment. You watch the carver, his breath steady and calm, the rise and fall of his chest a rhythmic dance that matches the flickering of the flames. The workshop is a sanctuary, a place of creation and learning. The walls, made of packed earth and timber, shield you from the cold outside, the wind a distant whisper that cannot penetrate the cozy sanctuary. You feel safe here, protected from the elements, cradled in the warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the carver's breath. The carver dips his brush into the orpiment pigment, the bright yellow color a stark contrast to the muted tones of the workshop. He begins to paint the runes, the scraping of the brush against the bone a soft, whispering sound. The pigment is toxic. You know the arsenic a silent danger, but you feel no fear. The carver is careful, his movements precise and controlled. You are safe here, under his guidance, learning the ancient art of bone carving. You feel your eyelids growing heavy, the warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the carver's breath pulling you into a state of deep relaxation. The scent of the pine resin and the smoked fish, the soft sounds of the carving tools and the crackling of the fire, the warm glow of the amber, and the gentle heat of the flames. They all combine to create a cocoon of comfort and safety. The carver looks up, his eyes meeting yours. He smiles, a soft, gentle curve of his lips that speaks volumes of his kindness and patience. He nods towards the fire, his eyes crinkling at the corners. You understand his silent command. Rest. Learn. Grow. You feel a wave of gratitude wash over you, a deep sense of belonging and peace. This is your world, your sanctuary. You are safe here, protected and cradled in the warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the carver's breath. The amber waits, patient and glowing, a symbol of the ancient art you are learning, the beautiful runes you are scoring. And as you feel your eyelids flutter closed, you know that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Safe, warm, protected, nestled in the heart of the workshop, the sounds and scents and sights of the Viking age wrapping around you like a comforting blanket. The carver's steady breath, the fire's gentle heat, the amber's warm glow, they are your lullaby, your guiding light. And as you drift off to sleep, you dream of runes and amber, of bone carving and Viking art. You settle deeper into the dugout stillness, and the wind that worries the rim of the shielded bank can't quite find you. It mutters outside like a low animal, while inside the air stays sheltered and familiar. You feel the warmth of the fire held behind a rough stone of river rock, and you taste its faint tang on your breath, smoke soft as wool, mixed with the resin bite of fat lamps and the clean, dry smell of antler dust that never quite disappears. Your eyes linger on the dim amber light, a honeyed glow that pools over the workbench, over the carver's oil-stained tunic sleeves, over the small tools laid in a calm row. You hear the quiet click of bone against wood as he turns a piece in his palm, and you notice how the rhythm settles the whole room steady, patient, as if the air itself is counting. You watch him work, and you feel the repetition in your body before you even understand it, because his movements teach your hands without touching them. He smooths the surface with a flat burnisher of horn or polished bone, and the touch is careful, slow pressure, then a gentler glide, until the runes and figures look almost wet with shine. You can see the grain of the antler under the light, pale and creamy, and you notice the tiny scratches he leaves on purpose, faint channels that catch the next step. You hear a soft whisper as the tool slides, like snow settling on rooftops. You smell the carver's breath, warm and close, carrying salt from sweat and the faint iron bite of old pigment powders that sit sealed in their skins. The smell stays distant, held away, because the shop is neat and protected, because he keeps his powders in tucked, lidded containers. You taste nothing sharp, only the gentle smoke and the faint sourness of leather dampened for grip, while the room cradles you and your eyelids respond. You listen while he scores, and you see how the line takes shape as if drawn by a patient tide. He drags a fine point across the antler's surface, and you can almost feel each pass in the ache of your own wrist. The way the motion repeats without hurry, score, lift, score again, 12 hours braided into one long strand. The sound is small but constant, a dry, controlled scrape, then a clean little pause as he checks the depth with the side of his thumb. You see his thumb press and withdraw, firm and reassuring, and you feel the coolness of the carved piece against the warmer pad of his skin. The air smells of reindeer and old wood, of wax and tallow warmed by the fire, and the sight of dark shadows makes the runes look deeper, like rivers under ice. You hear the drip of melted fat onto the lampwick, one measured drop at a time, and you keep breathing the same steady smoke that holds you safe and warm. You watch the amber come next, and it is nothing like rough stone in the way it behaves under his gaze. Amber sits in small, irregular lumps and glittering shards, golden honey, pale straw, sometimes a deeper orange like ember glow held in cloth, so your fingers don't catch on grit. When he turns a piece, light flashes inside it, as if tiny trapped suns shift and tremble. You can almost see warmth inside the amber itself. He taps it lightly, and the sound is delicate. A faint clink, a granular whisper as small bits break free. You smell the sweet, resinous note of amber that lifts when it's disturbed, mild and comforting, and you feel the cool fragments rest against his fingertips. The room stays sheltered. There is no suddenness, only a careful arrangement of steps that keeps the workshop gentle, orderly, and protected for anyone, especially you who must sit and learn. You see him grind only what must be ground, and you understand that the beauty begins with restraint. He keeps the amber dust from roaming through the air. He works over a covered surface, with a bowl and cloth laid like a small roof. You hear the soft friction of stone against stone, controlled and close, and you notice how he never coughs, never rushes, never lets powder drift. You can almost feel the difference in your own lungs when you imagine the wrong kind of dust, when the mind pulls away from it, because the carver's calm hands show you the safer way. Steady grinding, contained, wrapped, and held. You smell only the familiar smoke and resin sweetness, never harsh or acrid, and you feel your shoulders drop as the apprenticeship becomes less about fear and more about rhythm. Around him, the tools lie where they belong. Small knives, scraping blades, a cloth pouch for inlay bits, and a thin knife for lifting and placing. You watch the inlay itself, and the whole carved world seems to glow. He presses the warmed amber into the scored lines, and the touch looks both firm and gentle, like tucking a blanket into a seam so the edges settle flat. He uses the point of a tool to nudge the glittering dust and tiny chips until they sit flush. Then he taps lightly along the rune so the amber catches the line without breaking it. You hear a soft, satisfied sound almost like a fingernail tapping, wood followed by the quiet scrape of excess being removed. Curl after curl of dust gathered back into the cloth. The sight is mesmerizing. Gold against pale antler, a contrast so clear it feels like daylight trapped in carved grooves. You smell the faint warm oil of the carver's hands, and you feel the air settle warmer near the fire, as if the amber's brightness draws warmth toward you. Your tongue feels at rest in your mouth, because there's nothing to taste besides smoke and stale tallow, and the subtle sweetness of resin, harmless and steady. You notice that he repeats the sequence without variation, and that sameness becomes a lullaby. Smooth score press amber scrape smooth again, over and over, 12 hours stitched into the same calm pattern. Each time he smooths, you see the lines brighten. Each time he scores, you see the runes sharpen. Each time he presses, you see the glittering dust surrender into the groove like snow melting into earth. The sounds layer gently. The fire's soft crackle, the distant sigh of wind outside the earthwork, the small scrape of tools, the occasional shift of his tunic as he leans closer. You feel the bench under your legs, solid and unmoving, and you let yourself sink into the steady warmth that keeps you wrapped and protected. The taste of smoke clings to the back of your throat in a comfortable way, like a familiar blanket smell after nightfall. You listen to his hands, and you learn the shape of effort without letting it hurt you. You see the slight redness at his knuckles, the way his veins rise when he holds a tool for too long, and you understand the aching you might inherit if you rush. Still, he never complains. He breathes with the motion, inhale at the pause, exhale as he drags the point, and you feel that breathing settle your own chest as if he's teaching you to count in relief. His tunic is stained with oil-dark patches that seem to drink the light hand when he wipes his fingers on a rag. The smell of old fat and wood resin lifts, then fades. You hear his rag whisper against cloth, and you see amber flecks remain where they should, never scattered carelessly. You feel the workbench's steady presence in the dark, and the whole room seems to agree with you. Quiet, safe, patient, kind. You watch him finish a small section, and you feel the pause land like a soft hand on your shoulder. He runs the burnisher over the newly set amber until it shines flush with the antler, and the surface becomes smooth enough to catch the light in a single gleam. The glow makes the runes look alive. You can almost see them breathing beneath the amber's warmth, even though nothing moves but the fire and the faint flicker of torchlight. You smell the clean, dry edge of antler where pigment never touches, and you note how careful he is to keep all powders contained and wrapped, so the workshop remains gentle. You hear the last little scrape as he lifts the tool away, and in that quiet you hear your own breathing grow slower, your own body growing heavy with safety. You feel yourself dozing, nestled in the wind-shielded dugout, held in the rhythm of repetition, while the master's hands keep shaping beauty quietly, faithfully one smooth, scored, amber-set line after another. The fire crackles softly, its warmth spreading through the wind-shielded dugout workshop, wrapping around you like a familiar, comforting blanket. You are safe here, sheltered from the cold Norwegian evening, nestled in the corner, Your back against the rough-hewn timber wall. The scent of burning birchwood fills the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp wool from your tunic, and the faint, sweet tang of reindeer antler shavings scattered across the workbench. You watch the flames dance and flicker, casting long, wavering shadows on the walls, the light softening and dimming as the day gives way to night. The steady rhythm of the carver's knife against the antler lulls you. Each scrape and shave a soft, repetitive sound that blends seamlessly with the crackling fire and the distant howl of the wind outside. The carver, his hands rough and calloused from years of labor, works with a focus that seems almost meditative. His oil-stained tunic, darkened with age and use, rustles softly as he moves, the fabric worn smooth in places where it has rubbed against his tools or the workbench. His hands, strong and steady, guide the knife with precision, smoothing the edges of a small, intricate amulet, the runes etched into the surface catching the fading light. The grinding stone sits nearby, its surface worn down by years of use, the grooves and pits filled with the remnants of pigments and powders. Orpiment, the vibrant yellow pigment made from arsenic sulfide, lies in a small pile beside it, its color a stark contrast to the muted tones of the workshop. The carver dips his brush into the pigment, the bristles stiff and brittle, and carefully applies it to the amulet, the color vibrant against the pale antler. You can almost taste the metallic tang of the pigment in the air, a faint, bitter flavor that lingers on your tongue. The firelight catches the carver's eyes as he works, the reflection of the flames dancing in his gaze. His movements are slow and deliberate, each stroke of the brush a careful, measured action. The amulet, small and delicate, takes shape under his hands, the runes etched into the surface a testament to his skill and craftsmanship. You watch as he sets the amulet aside, his hands moving to the grinding stone, the rhythmic motion of his fingers against the rough surface, a soothing, hypnotic sound. The workshop is filled with the soft, steady sounds of work and the warmth of the fire, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and the faint, metallic tang of the orpiment. You feel your eyelids growing heavy, the repetitive motions of the carver's hands, and the gentle heat of the fire lulling you into a state of deep relaxation. The world outside fades away, the wind and the cold a distant memory, the workshop a warm, safe haven where nothing can harm you. The carver's voice, low and steady, fills the silence, his words a soft, comforting murmur. He speaks of the runes, of their meaning and their power, his voice a gentle, rhythmic sound that blends seamlessly with the crackling fire and the soft scrape of the knife against the antler. You listen, your mind drifting, the words washing over you like a warm, comforting tide. The fire burns low, the embers glowing softly, casting a warm, golden light across the workshop. The carver's hands move with a steady, rhythmic motion, the knife scraping against the antler, the brush stroking the pigment, the grinding stone humming softly under his fingers. You feel yourself drifting, the warmth of the fire and the steady rhythm of the carver's work lulling you into a deep, peaceful sleep. The workshop, safe and sheltered, cradles you in its warmth, the sounds and scents of the Viking age wrapping around you like a protective, comforting cloak. You lie back where the wind cannot find you, tucked in the sheltered dugout workshop, and the last of the day's chill slips away from your knuckles as the firelight gathers itself and holds steady. You can feel the bench's rough grain through your clothing, rougher where the bone dust has settled like pale grit, and you smell the warm resin of the lamp wood and the faint mineral tang that clings to the antler shavings. You hear the soft crack of a log settling, a slow tick that answers the darker, calmer creak of the timbers, and you see the ember bed breathing orange, then dim then bright again, like a patient heartbeat. The taste of smoke is light on your tongue, harmless and familiar, as if you have been breathing it for years, and now it only warms you. You watch the master carver in the firelight the way you watch a tide, quietly now, because he has finished his 12-hour shift and his shoulders have gone heavy with rest. You see his oil-stained tunic lie folded at his ribs, the dark patches looking darker beside the amber glow, and you notice how his hands still rest near the tools as if the tools might sing if touched too quickly. You can smell him too, tallow and sweat gone gentle, the sharp cleanliness of bone dust, and the faint sweetness of amber that once warmed under the shallow heat of his patience. You hear the tiny rustle of leather as he shifts a breath, and you feel the hearth's warmth traveling across your shins in slow waves, protected and steady, like a blanket that never slips. You do not taste anything new, only the same smoked air that settles on your breath and makes it feel safe. You blink, and the light makes shapes on the dugout wall's shadow sheaths, sliding over carved practice pieces, the runes softened at their edges by soot and age. You feel the packed earth beneath you, cool at first where your back presses in, then warming as the embers glow closer to the surface like coals under a hearthstone. You hear the absence of tools. No rasping, no scoring knife, no scrape of antler against stone, only the steady hush of the fire and the distant hush of wind outside the shielded bank. You smell the reindeer antler more faintly now, that pale, dry sweetness, and the residual scent of pigment work lingering in a ghostly way-dry, powdery, and harmless in the way it is now kept still. You savor the quiet taste of settled smoke, and your mouth feels relaxed, held by warmth. You think of the repetitive motions that are finished, and your body remembers them even as your mind loosens, your fingers echoing the old routine without needing to move. You feel your wrists unknotted, resting where they can feel the texture of the wooden rim beside you, smooth where many hands have held it, rough where splinters still rise like small islands. You hear your own breathing match the fire's rhythm, soft in, soft out, and you see the amber inlay pieces catching nothing now, because nothing is being set or pressed, only stored under cloth. You smell the cloth itself wool and animal fat, and the faint sour note of damp that never grows strong here because the dugout stays sheltered, protected, wrapped against the weather. You almost taste the resin on the air, and you let it be only comfort. You watch the master's amulets and gambling pieces arranged in a low nest of straw and wood scraps, each one turned so the light can read it without glare. You see the runic bands like thin rivers, pale where bone has been smoothed until it turns satin-like, and dark where shallow cuts catch soot. You can feel the air cooler when you draw your breath in, then warmer when you exhale, as if the fire alternately opens and closes its breath. You hear the faint clink of a small tool somewhere. Perhaps it has shifted. Then the sound fades into the steady crackle, and nothing else interrupts. You smell walrus tusk's faint saltiness in the way it rests near the hearth, and you taste smoked air and stale bread that has been set aside, crusted and plain, still safe and soft with warmth in its own wrapping. You settle your head, and the bench presses into your ear with a gentle pressure that makes you feel cradled instead of cramped. You feel the old bone dust in the seams of your tunic, and you notice how it does not itch now. It is only a familiar grain, a quiet proof of work done well. You hear the master's breathing deepen, and you see his chest rise with slow certainty, while the light above him flickers across the curve of his cheek. You smell tallow and the lingering tang of carved materials, but the scents are softened now, blended and steady, like a drink diluted with water until it becomes soothing rather than sharp. You taste nothing sweet or sharp only, a gentle smoke, lingering on your tongue so safe that you do not worry about it at all. You let your eyes follow the firelight to the edge of the dugout where the shadows gather, and those shadows do not scare you. They simply sit. You feel the warmth pooling at your feet, then easing upward your calves, held close by low walls of timber and the shielding bank outside. You hear the wind in the distance, muffled by earth and boards, a faraway hush that cannot reach you, and you hear the fire take its time, each crackle separated by a long, calm silence. You smell damp straw that has dried against the hearth heat, and you smell a faint clean note from the stone used for grinding and smoothing earlier, kept dry now and wrapped against stray moisture. You taste the afterbite of whatever he shared earlier, perhaps a little salted fish, perhaps dark bread washed away by smoke until it becomes only a warm memory on your palate. You drift, and the sounds stretch into softer shapes, as if the crackle is counting down time for you rather than marking work. You feel the last tension in your fingers release, and your hands rest palm down as though the earth itself has asked you to sleep. You see the carved runes blur at their edges, the pale lines turning into glowing scratches, and the amber spots dim into golden dots that no longer demand attention. You hear a gentle settling of wood, a deep sigh from the hearth, and then the quieter creak of the dugout as it holds its shape. You smell the fire's wood smoke and the wool on your own shoulders, and you taste warm air that feels like protection, steady and familiar. You lie so still that even the light seems to move around you instead of through you, sliding across the walls without pulling you awake. You feel the blanket of warmth settle deeper into your bones, warm without burning, sheltered without trapping, wrapped around you like a steady cloak. You hear the master's breathing and the fire's patient crackle, and you doze into the pause between one sound and the next. You smell amber and antler only as a distant sweetness in the background, and you smell smoke as comfort, the same safe scent repeating the way a lullaby repeats. You taste nothing but the calm dryness of sleep and the faint salt of old air, and you let it be gentle. You remember only for a breath that there was a grinding stone and a powdery pigment that once rose with each patient scrape, that the room used to fill with small clouds of dust when the work was active. You do not see it now, you do not cough it now, because the carving shift has ended, and everything is kept still and protected, covered and placed away. You feel your lungs as steady and clean, held by the warm air of the hearth rather than burdened by anything sharp. You hear no scraping, no grinding, no sharp movement, only the safe music of fire and the softer, heavier quiet of rest. You see the last runes catch one final flicker, and then you see them again, dimmer, until light itself becomes a slow dimming curtain. You let your eyelids lower, and the world becomes warm shadow. You feel the bench under your shoulder, the straw's dryness under your back, and the steady heat from the fire that does not waver enough to wake you. You smell tallow, wool, and smoke, all familiar, all harmless in this sheltered place, and you taste the quiet residue of smoke like a comforting draft. You hear the fire settle into fewer, slower cracks, and you hear your own breath soften until it blends with the room's breath. You drift deeper, nestled, held, wrapped in the last light fading into ember red, and everything that once required your careful eyes now only glows still, safe and asleep with you.